And we are live here to talk about tonight's episode of Arrow, which was episode 16 called The Thanatos Guild. The Thanatos Guild? Season 6, episode 16. I'm really excited to talk about tonight's episode of Arrow because it was a little different. You know, we had a bit of a send off for a main character, and it wasn't a finale. I brought on somebody who you might have seen before and who knows a lot about Arrow and who knows a lot about all the OG characters and everything. This is Jenna. Jenna, say hi.
Hi.
Jenna, before we get started, just give me a brief history of sort of like what you know and love about Arrow, and I know you're also a Marvel fangirl as well. Like, where are you at with all this? How long have you been watching Arrow? What are you mostly a fan of on Arrow?
I've actually been a fan of Arrow since around mid season 3, maybe.
Ooh, that's a long time.
And a friend of mine said, "Hey, there's this badass computer hacker chick on this show. I think you'd like it." And
Yeah,
turns out I really enjoyed the show for more than Felicity. So that's what's kept me watching over these past few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, Arrow's, my pretty much my only bag in the DC universe, but Marvel.
Yeah, you love the Marvel stuff.
Fan,
I can see that behind you.
Yep. That's only a fraction, so.
Yes. She knows everything there is to know about Marvel. So if anybody watching also likes Marvel, you might want to go chat with her about that as well. Just jumping in the chat. Just a fan fave says loved it. Amanda says hello. Carrie says hey folks. Just a fan fave says Oliver called Felicity his wife. So sweet. Oh, and hi. Stormy says I really like this episode. I'm seeing some positivity in the chat. So let's just get started with the ratings because I have a feeling we might get some high ratings on this. So I'm going to have you guys watching live rate it in the chat on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being terrible, awful, no good, very bad day, and 5 being you loved every second of it, one of the best episodes of Arrow this season, or one of the best episodes of Arrow ever. Where are you at with it? And I'm going to toss it right back to Jenna and see where she's at on the scale of 1 to 5. What's your initial reaction having just watched it?
Having just watched it, I'm going to say about a 3.
Okay.
It's not my favorite episode. It's not my least favorite episode. It's definitely there in the middle.
Yeah. So giving it a 3 out of 5, that's actually not too bad. That's still, you loved some parts, you didn't love some parts. Stormy's giving it a 4. I think it really tugged at my heartstrings there at some parts. I'm going to give it a 4, or at least very close to a 4. Just a fan fave says 4.2. So let's talk about the highlights just to start with. Let's talk about what bumped it up to at least a 3 for you. What did you love about tonight's episode? Did you kind of know some stuff going into it? So we're going to talk about spoilers. We know Thea left Star City and left the show. Carrie's also saying 4.2 higher if they drop the B story. I have a feeling, Jenna, is the B story kind of what dropped it to a 3 for you too?
Yeah, it is. It's been steadily declining, my love of Arrow for, this season. Some of it is definitely not necessary. I think that there's some definite issues, not just with the NTA, but the whole Quentin and Laurel sidelines. Why is it there? It's redundant.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Amanda says she loved it, didn't move the story forward, but she's going to give it a 4.3. I think one of the things that you're mentioning now that I definitely agree with is that the B story drags it down. I think maybe a plus side of tonight's episode is that there wasn't too much B story. We didn't really have to deal too much with the Quentin issue. At least 1/3 of the, new Team Arrow timeout trio, whatever we want to call them, at least 1/3 of them wasn't present, and the B story wasn't very strong, but it was definitely the weakest part, so I definitely agree there. Stormy's agreeing. I didn't like the B story either this episode. Yoshiki Haru says, reaction live stream. This is a reaction live stream. You've come to the right place. And Just a Fan Fave says, fake Team Arrow was unnecessary in this episode. I think I agree. Another comment saying, Lance saying he wasn't stupid to dig. I was like, oh, Quentin, you totally are stupid. And Carrie says, man, I could listen to Jenna talk all day, Southern girl. I could listen to you talk as well. I'm gonna
Well,
toss it
thank
right.
you.
I'm gonna toss it right back to you. Bless us with more of your Southern voice. What was your highlight from tonight? Favorite scene, favorite moment?
Um, Anything really with Nyssa. I have missed Katrina Law in this show
Yeah.
more than words can say. She brought another element to it, that something that we have been lacking, especially in
Mm-hmm.
these last several episodes, which was a dose of humor.
Yes.
Every time you turn around, she was quipping with either Oliver, Felicity, Thea. It was one of the best parts, and I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think one of the things that maybe I was kind of worried about based on some of the teasers leading up to this was I knew they were going to kind of make some quips about Nissa's marriage to Oliver. And I was sort of like pre-bristled up about that because I was like, that was not a marriage. You know, this is a lesbian superheroine or antihero or whatever you want to call her being forced into a marriage against her will by her homophobic father. It's not something to, you know, and I was kind of like pre-bristled, but the way they handled it tonight and the way they like annulled it, even though it was never an official marriage, and gave her a lot of agency, gave her a lot of humor, showed that she never really took it seriously, anyways, and was just sort of tossing jokes around about it because she thought it was funny. I think humor is a coping mechanism in situations like this, anyways. It seemed familiar,
I
the vibe that she was putting off. Like, I was like, okay, I can see somebody sort of reacting with this, like, this wasn't real and I was forced into it anyways. And like, you know, so I don't know. I was okay with that. And I loved the way she reacted towards Thea. She gave Thea this sense of agency as well. And she had a lot of respect for Thea, but also seemed to take her under her wing. What did you think of that storyline and Thea's whole journey in this episode?
I really liked how I was getting ready to call her Katrina. Nyssa did
Yeah.
take Thea under her wing
Mm-hmm.
because although vastly different backgrounds that they grew up in, they really are pretty much in the same situation now. Nyssa was
Yeah.
heir to the demon.
Yeah.
Thea is heir to the demon, and I mentioned in a tweet earlier, I'm ready for their buddy comedy spin-off TV show about
Yeah.
finding the Lazarus pits and doing whatever. But
Did you get the feeling that it could be set up for a spinoff? I know that's not the plan yet, but I was like, I would totally watch Thea and Nissa and I guess Roy and the rest of them
just
on a
imagine the
spinoff.
three of them in a road trip. I mean, I can only
Yeah.
imagine what's going to happen.
Yes. I loved it.
Hope writers get on that.
Yes. I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, I know Willa Holland, you know, wanted to step away from the show for a little bit, but girl, if you ever want to come back, I would watch your spinoff. Jumping into the chat, Stormy says, I love seeing Thea and Felicity interact. It's something the show refused to give us, which bums me out. Just a fan fave agrees that Felicity was not happy with the husband comment. And Amanda says, Felicity and Nissa interactions were on point. Love them. Another comment saying, hopefully Nissa's gift to Oliver at the end. We will never have to deal with a forced league marriage. I do agree with Nissa that Thea is stronger than she's given credit for. And Carrie says, the show would be great, referring to our spinoff idea. They already have the best villain in Athena. I loved Athena as a villain. I agree with that. So let's talk about both of the things that came up in the comments. What did you think of Felicity in tonight's episode? Because I know she's a favorite of both yours and mine. And then what did you think of the villain, Miss Athena, in tonight's episode?
You may have to repeat that. I think I'm missing something with
Sure.
the audio.
Yeah. What did you think of Felicity in tonight's episode? That came up in the comments a bit. And what did you think of our villainess of tonight, Miss Athena, who Thea had to take down?
I'm going to be quite honest. That was probably when Athena was on the screen, I was probably tweeting.
Really?
That kind of gave me a little bit of a time there. Um, but as for Felicity, she's my favorite part of any episode. But to the quips that that she pulled out, and of course I'm a pop culture junkie. So first with the Indiana Jones references, then to she's the best mathematician, to her knowledge of when exactly the demon box or whatever that was created. It reminded me why I keep coming back to the show is for the strong female that she is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also just now watching our live stream and realizing that it's not cutting to your video feed whenever I cut to you, but they can hear your audio. They just can't see your face, which is tragic. So I'm going to try to work on that
I'm
for you.
sorry.
Yeah, can you guys see Jenna or can you only hear Jenna? I mean, her voice is great, but her face is fantastic as well. I can see you, so I don't know why it's not transferring to the YouTube thing, but looking back in the chat, Brian Kress says, Felicity Smoke, world's greatest mathematician. Rengoku says, I made it. Stormy says, I actually liked Athena. She's already a better villain than Siren and Diaz. I agree just because I really don't like Siren and Diaz. And Carrie confirms we can only hear you. That's really odd. I'm wondering, let me try. Jenna, can you just turn your thing sideways for me? Because right now you have it profile. Can you turn it landscape? And let's see if that makes any difference for us.
Does that help?
Let me see. Does
that help any? Maybe.
I don't know.
Oh no, I messed something
I
up.
don't think it is, but it's okay. We'll just go with audio for you, and that's okay. Bruna says I can only hear. Well, that's okay. Let me toss it to you and see what your negatives were from tonight's episode. So we had a lot of positives. I think we had a lot of high ratings just in general, but we may have had some negatives or some things that you would maybe want to change or maybe some questions that you were left with. If you had to sort of pick a negative from tonight's episode or something you would have changed, what do you think you would have picked?
And most definitely the whole B side of the episode. Simply because, we knew that the chief was, a bad guy. And, we could see that. And yet, I understand that, we kind of need to see them realize that she's that she's, a villain or whatever. But to me, it was unnecessary. And it could have been something done behind the scenes. Be like, oh, hey, we had this information, so we need to go after this person.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of agree in general with the idea that was tossed around earlier as well, that just the B storyline felt a little disjointed from it. I'm wondering, so for me, the one part of the B storyline that I just kind of see, that I just kind of do see the positives for, was the Curtis and the cop thing. I'm curious what you thought of that. I'm curious what those of you in the chat thought of that. We had a few. There's a lot of romance already kind of going on the show. We've got Oliver and Felicity. We had Thea and Roy reuniting, but Curtis has been wanting some love for a while. What did you think of him potentially, maybe, sort of, getting a boyfriend?
Oh, I still love Paul, but I understand. That's that bridge is burned. You can't go back and pass it. But to see Curtis happy, Curtis is one of my favorite characters. I know it's probably unpopular opinion, but to have another person that's intellectually really on the level as Felicity, that she can talk computers to, I really like to see that. And he quickly became a favorite character. But I definitely want to see him. My only issue is that I think that Mr. Nick is going to be one of the cops that's working for Diaz.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of negative outcome of this whole Curtis thing, and if that's going to draw him back to Paul, or I don't know. I feel like my theories with that are very, sometimes I'm like pretty spot on with where I think things are going to go, like I was with Thea. I'm not so sure I'm really strong in my theories with Curtis, because everything I've ever predicted with him always goes awry. For example, I thought he and Ragman were going to be a romance, but you just never know. Jumping back in the chat, Rengoku says, I agree, Athena's a better villain than Diaz. This coming from a big comic book Ricardo Diaz fan. Yeah, I hear Ricardo Diaz is fantastic in the comics, but so far I just haven't seen it on screen, but I'm hoping. And negatives, he didn't like the Nyssa Felicity wife skirmish and the Curtis and Dinah story as well. The Felicity and Nyssa wife thing, it was just a little awkward. I feel like they were trying to pass it off as humor, and I understand why they would. And I mentioned this earlier on Twitter when I was particularly bristly about this, because I thought it was sort of a disrespect towards Nyssa. I just wanted them to make it a little more clear that Nyssa did not really consider this a real marriage, was not really trying to be catty towards Felicity, but was just trying to communicate that she didn't take it seriously. I think there was some clarity lost in that humor, and I wish it had just been pushed just a little bit more in that direction. Stormy says, my negative is Dig still wanting to be the Green Arrow. He's just as much of a hero as Oliver when he's Spartan, and it makes no sense to me. I totally think that guy Curtis is interested in will be one of the dirty cops. There's supposed to be a ton of dirty cops, so I feel like the odds are that he is. Carrie says the only positive would have been Curtis and Zoe interacting more. I do think that's quite cute, and I like Curtis better than Renee, so of course he's better for Zoe. And Amanda says, and Curtis said he is still Felicity's partner. I thought after the last episode's hard words, they'd quit their association. I wondered about that too. Did you guys all get the vibe that after that big blow up, Curtis wasn't still trying to be like Felicity's business partner or friend at all? What did you think, Jenna?
Yeah, that was kind of one of the things that blew my mind, that big blow up that they had. And then this week he was like, well, she's my business partner. I was like, when did that happen? So, I understand, still thinking that, but that assumption, you know what they say about assuming. And I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to continue, or if maybe he's just completely like ruined that shot of being of being a business partner because of that.
Yeah, I really don't know what they intend it to look like when the B team keeps doing this push pull with OTA, and OTA is just sort of consistently there. I I don't know what they want us to root for, and so I just constantly find myself defaulting to not rooting for NTA to be a part of their lives. But Curtis is sort of a middle point there because I think he sort of pre-existed NTA and could possibly exist afterwards because there's versions of his character that I've liked better. Amanda said, or Stormy said, I wish Felicity and Curtis weren't still working together. He used the chip to hurt John. I agree. I think there needs to be some distance, and then he'll need to like apologize and have a redemption arc if he were to rejoin the team. Carrie says, I hate to say this, but obviously Colton Haynes is not in arrow shape, so he was an obvious liability in the field, but in all fairness, he used to get beaten up a lot anyways. No offense taken by that. I think that's hilarious. And I mean, it's true. Jenna, you are a fan of Roy, right?
Um, it comes and goes. I'm more of a fan of Colton than I am of Roy.
Okay.
But can I just say I absolutely adored his ghetto Arsenal outfit tonight? The jacket, the red hat, the arrows. That was probably one of my top 5 favorite moments of the entire episode.
Yeah, I thought it was well integrated, his return. I've there's been points where I was not really a Roy fan and points where I appreciated him. And I think the points where I appreciated him the most are during this latest return, where in contrast to the other members of the team, the B team, his loyalty was really admirable, and how he had spent all this time continually sacrificing himself and everybody he loved, like Thea, to protect Oliver and the team is admirable. And whether or not I found him sometimes cool, sometimes annoying, that kind of I came around to it in the end. And I like that he was willing to support Thea on her journey. That was definitely the final sort of nail in the redemption storyline for me. Rengoku says it's kind of funny to think that food is sufficient motivation for Curtis to visit the team. He said he was 100% done with. Same Curtis, same that cake looked good. I I fully agree with you, and maybe that is in character for Curtis to be motivated by food that much. And I thought the cake and William little bit was really cute as well because we got to see Thea being an aunt for a second, which was so cute. What did you think of that family moment there at the beginning?
I love the family moments. If they decided to drop all of the crime in Star City, or if everybody just moved back to Ivy Town and created their own little compound, I would
Mm-hmm.
watch the show just for that.
Yeah.
I can do without the villains and all this other stuff. It's just the dynamic that all the characters have together. That's what really brings it to me. And that's
Yeah.
why I continually, discord between OTA and NTA. That's just driving me nuts because,
Yeah.
not everybody's doing what they should to better the city. It's all personal vendettas.
Right. Yeah. I think personal vendettas or an individual focus is what really separates, I agree with you, OTA and NTA. Which is why I don't like infighting with OTA. And that's why this whole Oliver and Diggle thing, this Green Arrow thing, is kind of bothering me because A, Diggle already has a superhero hero identity and it's Spartan, and Spartan is just as much of a
Right.
superhero as Green Arrow is. And if they had given Spartan the right amount of focus and storyline and story time prior to this switch to Green Arrow, I think going back to Spartan wouldn't be seen as a demotion because they would have given him what he deserved all along. And the fact that
Right.
it's been that he didn't get that as Spartan is what's causing this now. And I can only assume that the resolution of this will be to give Spartan sort of his own mission, his own team, his own something. Jumping into the chat, Amanda says about Arsenal's outfit, they totally forgot Roy came back on season 4 and he did have his uniform then, or perhaps it just doesn't fit anymore. Stormy says, I really liked Roy, but that went up even more when you're stuck with somebody like Wild Dog. I feel you, Stormy. Yeah. Well, just to wrap it up, because we are at our 20-minute mark or a little over, Jen, I want to hear what you would like to see going forward. We have a few episodes left this season. What do you want to see in those episodes? And those of you watching along, you can let me know in the chat as well. What do you want to see in the next few episodes? We don't have that many left.
Oh wow. Let's get rid of Black Siren completely. Let's toss her out.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
she she's not necessary at all. The I need the whole Team Arrow to get back together and realize that, hey, you know this is a stupid petty issue. Get over it. There's a bigger issue at play, and you need to take down the villain. And that's something before we had this extended team we didn't have a problem with. Um, I would like to see them take down Diaz pretty quickly. And I kind of wish that we would go back to the whole maybe a different minor villain per week. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that would be, the best thing. But what, we have 7 episodes left. Um, I think I'm just in it for the ride now to see what, the writers kind of pull out. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think following this episode, in some ways, I'm just in it for the ride. I've seen some teases of what we can expect in the next upcoming episodes, and I'm with you on that. I would like a really strong villain, and I'm not sure that we have that in Dragon. I don't feel that we really have that in Black Siren the way Black Siren's currently being written or presented to us. So I'm hoping in some way, in some form, a strong villain rises. I would also like to see the return of Samantha Watson. I think she posed a really good sort of social
yeah.
villain for this team. Yeah, you liked her too, right?
Yeah, I did. I actually forgot about her because, after I don't even remember what episode it was, maybe 7, 8, you don't hear from
Mhm.
her again. I'm like, well, what happened to the trial against Oliver? Isn't that
Yeah.
still a thing going on? So is that
Yeah.
still in the background as we're trying to, focus on, right now the League of Assassins
Right.
and, Dragon and all this other stuff, bring her back. I'd like to see what happens there.
Yeah. I thought she just posed such interesting and strong questions for Oliver and the rest of the team that they should answer if they were to continue this as quote unquote heroes. So I found her character important. Just jumping into what the rest of the chat is saying, Amanda wants to see Black Siren be a hero on her own Earth. Rengoku says, I want Richard Diaz to be better. I like the actor a lot, who is in Oz and 12 Monkeys, and I like the comic book character Ricardo Diaz a lot. So hopefully they will give him some good material to work with. Carrie says, it's not what I want to see, but since a character is making a return for the finale, it will be, I think, for a somber reason. He's referring to, spoilers, Miss Sarah Lance will return for the finale. And because of that, I think we all kind of assume it's going to be because someone in her life in Star City may face an end. Stormy says, I'd like to see something with Felicity's company. Black Siren can go bother Sarah on Legends or something. I need the stuff between Oliver and Diggle to be resolved. Don't ruin my bromance. And Rengoku says, new Lazarus Pits, Evil Tommy for season 7. Ooh, you like
That's
Tommy, don't you?
right. That I love Tommy, but that's right. Stephen Amell posted a picture today, I think maybe from 621, and it had a chair with Colin's name on it. So, whether it's a flashback or Evil Tommy, I am ready for this.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting, especially in a flashback. Brian Perez says what I think we all can agree on. He says he wants the honeymoon in Aruba. Yes, I think everybody watching, and certainly Oliver and Felicity all want to see that honeymoon in Aruba. Stormy says, I think Samantha should be more concerned with Diaz than Oliver. Oliver's trying to save the city. Diaz is trying to destroy it. Well, perhaps if she returns, she would be, and that would be interesting to see. And Amanda says Vertigo will maybe come back for that crazy 21st episode. Yeah, I'm wondering.
Ooh, yeah, hallucinations. That
Yeah.
could be where Tommy comes in. Ooh, I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I always like when hallucinations are involved in this show because it's a way to sort of add the fantasy without losing the groundedness of Arrow and like the whole drug
Aliens.
situation thing seems to fit the city because that's been a component in these storylines since season 1.
Right.
Yeah. Jenna, this was a good talk. I
It
loved
was.
chatting with you about Arrow. I'm
Aw.
sorry I was selfish and am the only one getting to see your face and it's not showing up on the rest. I think it's because it might be because you're joining via mobile and my situation won't project
Maybe.
mobile. But they can hear your lovely voice. Just picture a face even lovelier than the voice, and that's Jenna. If they do want to chat with you more about Arrow, where can they find you?
You can find me at Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, at NerdGirlJen. I am
Yes.
there. I live tweet Arrow, of course, Thursdays, iZombie on Mondays, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on Fridays, and really whatever else I want to. So,
Yes. She's great, and I have her description in her information linked in the description down below already if you want to go find her on Twitter. Thank you guys also for watching and joining. Yeah, Carrie says ArubaCon. Ooh, I think that's a Marvel reference, isn't it? Isn't that a reference to like
possibly.
Aruba coming up in the Marvel world as a like a
Oh,
bad place of sorts?
well,
Wasn't
I
that a
know.
thing with Agents of Shield?
Yeah, and if you would have asked me, I would have known. Tahiti, Tahiti, Tahiti
Oh,
is not a
that's
good
what it is.
place.
Tahiti is the bad place. Well,
Tahiti.
clearly I don't know as much about Marvel, but Stormy says Felicity should get a dessert, and she's not talking about cake. Ooh, saucy. And Amanda says it's a Legends reference. That's what it is. Legends.
Ah,
See, I don't keep up with Legends as much as I should, but I hear there's an excellent ship on there these days. That whole Ava Lance thing. They're cute. I like Nyssa and Sarah, but they're cute. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I will see you same time, same place next week for episode 17. Wow, we are getting towards the end of the season. And thank you, Jenna, for joining me.
thank
And I will see
you.
you guys later. Bye bye.